Hello and welcome to my video, MGTOW Anecdotes, my uncle, the richest man in my family. My uncle is the firstborn and the oldest of all my aunts and uncles. He also, out of all my aunts and uncles, he's the only one to go to university. I'm not sure exactly what he studied at university. I believe it was engineering. Now, for the sake of making the video short, I'll skip a few years and just tell you that why my uncle's the richest person in our family. Well, he might not be presently, but I'll give you some details on that. So, the short version is he's worked on the oil rigs for the majority of his working life. So, to keep things simple, I'm going to state that he worked on the oil rigs for 35 years. He is now retired. Now, according to my uncle, he basically worked his way up on the various oil rigs to the point where the last 10 to 15 years, he's actually been managing entire oil rigs. I would say by himself. Well, he's literally in charge of everyone. And one of the first things which my uncle told me about working on the oil rigs, which I found very interesting, is because you're basically cut off from the rest of the world to a certain extent, you have to fix everything. So, for example, if the microwave breaks, you can't just ring up someone and say, okay, can you repair my microwave or can I exchange it and buy a new one? Nope. You need to repair it, and that goes for anything. If the refrigerator breaks, if anything breaks, let alone the machines and the tools that they're currently using. Apart from working on the oil rigs, my uncle can speak 4 different languages, and he's extremely well travelled. Basically, his lifetime before he retired was literally be work on the oil rigs for 3, 6, 9 months. Of the year, and then the rest of the year travel all around the world. Okay, so how does this relate to MGTOW? Well, funnily enough, my uncle decided, well, perhaps I should get a travelling companion that perhaps I could love and perhaps have some fun with. And of course, sort of my uncle, he earned quite a few pennies. He obviously didn't have too many issues finding sort of a woman and a travelling companion that he really enjoyed, and they got married. Yeah, things were going pretty good for about 5 years, and then according to my uncle, basically for no sort of logical reason or no reason that he could really work out, she just decided to, like, nope, that's it, we're done, and obviously, and took him to the cleaners in divorce court. And I've tried to get sort of a number out of my uncle of like a percentage of his income or rough amount, but he's just too embarrassed to actually say the amount that he had to pay out. He did, however, say, okay, I'm never going to get married again. So I would lean towards it was enough money for him to basically never do something again. So a few years went by and he thought, okay, maybe not all women are like that. Maybe she was just a gold digger. I know, I'll use my sort of, not necessarily a close group of friends, but I'll use my acquaintances. And he basically started dating a woman that he had known whilst he was married, and he'd known this woman for 10 years before they started dating. And again, things were going good for 3 to 4 years, and basically my uncle, he'd brought her sort of a place to live, which had let's say it was a 3-bedroom apartment. It had more room than one person needed, and obviously my uncle works in the oil rigs, so obviously she would be technically alone for, let's say, 3 or 6 months of the year, whatever. Said she had a male roommate who was just sort of sort of sharing the building with her. And she told my uncle, "Oh, don't worry about anything. The guy's gay. Like we've been friends for years. Like he's gay. You don't have to worry about it, and he'll give you some money towards sort of housekeeping and stuff like that." Now, what happened? What was the reality? The guy wasn't gay at all, and they was fucking. And the guy didn't give my uncle any money for housekeeping. And, they were just basically living it up on my, off the back of my uncle. And then after that happened, my uncle didn't really date anyone for quite a few years. I think it might have been at least 5 years. And, in that last one with the sort of property, obviously my uncle lost a bit of money. He did obviously lose as much as he would in a divorce, but he obviously still lost a bit of money, because you're not going to get money back from paying for someone else's boyfriend or a guy to fuck your girlfriend. You're not going to get any money back from that. Oh, and also my uncle felt a bit gutted because he'd known the woman for so long, and she really fucking took the piss. She really, I wouldn't say destroyed him, but she really sort of knocked him hard for the bullshit she was doing, because he felt like it was sort of like a long scam. Like it wasn't just I know, you steal £5,000 one day. It was, oh, I have this roommate, and we're talking in the space of sort of a couple. It was at least 6 months when this guy moved in. So imagine that. She bigged him up saying, "Oh yeah, I'm doing my gay friend a favour," and all the time she's fucking him for 6 months, while he's out working 60, 70 hour weeks on the oil rig. And in his words, you work so many hours, you barely get enough time to shit and eat. And he always really stresses how sort of short on time you are, and how, obviously, as I said, the last 10, 15 years, he's been in charge of the oil rigs. Imagine the amount of pressure of these sort of multi-million pound oil rigs. You're in charge of so many workers. If they fuck up, it's still your fault. And it's like, well, have you been employing a bunch of unskilled labourers and unskilled people to save on the pennies? Okay, so we're getting there. So the best story for last. So my uncle is now retired. He's now 65 years old. So obviously his ability to earn money, the oil companies just sort of retired him at 65. And then my uncle was telling me that he's met a woman, and she lives in Thailand. And he was saying the education there is really expensive. And he said, "Oh yeah, I had to put my I sort of put my girlfriend's daughter through school, and it was very expensive." And he was saying that he might have some issue trying to get residency in Thailand. And then it dawned on me, holy shit, my uncle is with a single mother. So you could argue, now my uncle's 65 and he doesn't really have any earning potential, his last shot of happiness with a woman is with a single Asian mum in Thailand, who he's already spent, dare I say, thousands and thousands of dollars on, a house for the mum, and education for her daughter. Okay, so I'll quickly reiterate, how is this related to MGTOW? And so, okay, let's say for me, or reality, MGTOW didn't exist. I have my uncle, as I said, who's the richest, you could argue, the most successful man in our family. But because of his lack of knowledge, women have had the majority of his money for him. Now, you can throw him under the bus and say, oh, well, he was a retard, he should never got married. However, the facts of the matter are, because of his ignorance, he's now considerably poorer. And with the knowledge that I've learned, okay, so at the moment, he's with a single mum. Everyone, like, I don't know about him, but as far as I know, most men know avoid single mothers. Now, I've already told you. Okay, so I'm 30 years old. how can I really tell my 65-year-old uncle about basically dating advice and women when he's twice as old to me? He's travelled all around the world. He's gone to universities. He's been in charge at oil rigs. It's very difficult for me to say, like, to my uncle, like uncle, I really want to help you out, but you need to just date a woman who is not a single mum. Like, it is not going to end well. And whilst I can see that you can or should, or you effectively do use money to get women, unless you're some sort of playboy that can attract women without, you need to protect your money a lot better from women. Because as we've seen, they've got a track record. If when they get the opportunity to rob and steal from you, they have done. And they've been really fucking vindictive about it. When my uncle, I know my uncle very well, he wouldn't have done anything sort of bad or wrong to these women to deserve this treatment. And that's why it's just so ridiculous. My uncle also admitted to me that because he has basically lost kind of so much money, he might actually have to go back to work. Obviously for a different company, because the other company retired him the second he got to 65, so he'd work for a different company. But the trouble is, what will the single mum do? She might do the same, just fucking get all his money, and then be like, oh, okay, you pay for my kid's education, but I don't owe you anything. You only spent thousands and thousands of dollars on me, and I don't owe you nothing because I'm a woman. And also, to repeat the point, so how could I sort of explain to my uncle what he's doing is just probably, or I'm going to say very likely, it's just not gonna work out, and he's going to end up with a deeper hole in his pocket. And one of the retarded criticisms of MGTOW is like, oh, MGTOW are speaking to the young guys and they should let the young guys fuck up their lives all by themselves. What we should do is just give everyone the information and then let them decide for themselves. Like, if I was to judge my uncle very, very cynically, if I'd slapped him round the face when he was, let's say, 30 years old when he started working on the oil rigs, and say, like, look, because you're away from the country and you're away from sort of the women's for too long, don't get into anything serious and just say, look, you're going to be a travel companion and I'll take you all around the world and I'll fuck you occasionally. Again, I honestly think that that's a pretty sweet deal for any woman. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for listening, watching, and goodbye.